on TV, on radio, and on your smartphone. This is TalkTV.
Piers Morgan, Uncensored in Kyiv, Ukraine. And tonight, a world-exclusive interview with two of the most iconic people in the world right now. President Volodymyr Zelensky and his wife, the First Lady of Ukraine, Olena Zelenska.
Mr. President,
nice to meet you.
Great to see you. Great to see you.
Nice to meet you again.
Happy to see you again.
Thank you so much.
Your English is better than my Ukrainian.
Yes, that's
for sure.
Oh, that's true.
It was a wide-ranging, long, fascinating, heart-rending, occasionally laugh out loud against all the odds interview.
My grandmother, she remembers Churchill. He rallied the whole country.
Yeah.
And I think you're doing the same.
As Churchill, I'm trying.
With two compelling people. And at the end of it, one thing's for sure, Ukraine right now could not be in better hands than they are with their president and their First Lady. Piers Morgan, Uncensored in Kyiv, Ukraine. Tonight, a world-exclusive interview with the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, and his wife, the First Lady, Olena Zelenska. Mr. President, First Lady, thank you both very much indeed for taking this time to sit down with me. I greatly appreciate it. And First Lady, thank you for giving me the honour of moderating your summit of First Ladies and Gentlemen. It was an amazing day, and we'll come to that. I want to ask you first, we're 5 months into the war, into the 6th month now. How are you both doing? How are you coping with this?
How are you doing?
How are you doing? Якщо я можу сказати.
Well, if I may say so, to be honest, I have this feeling as if it were one day. That is why when it was the 6th day, the 7th day of war, since that day I really have this feeling that all of this is one very long day.
Не бачу, щоб сильно відрізнялось 5
I don't really see the difference between 5 months or 6 months. The only difference is when we feel that at the battlefield the situation is stabilized. Or we know that at some points, in some positions, we are advancing. And I keep thinking about that. But another point is my family, my wife, they have found a format how sometimes we can have this possibility of seeing each other. Thank you for the interview. This interview is one of the good opportunities for us to see each other. That is very important for us. As you know, we are all human beings and we have to be strong. Sometimes we want to have someone close to be next to us, and that is what you miss in these moments.
Поблизу, поговорити, і ти за цим сумуєш, так, сумуєш.
Yes, I miss my children, I miss my wife. It is impossible to get used to it. Everything else you can get used to.
Іншого можна звикнути.
For you, First Lady, is this like a TV date?
Yes, thank you for this TV date. Yes, because each day, each time when we have this interview, we experience joy because we have the chance to see each other throughout past days, past months. Because during this period, Volodymyr has been living at his workplace, and I'm with children, but we are in another place. We were separated, and I can see him only several times per week in the office, but children do not get to see him very often. Of course, they miss it under such a serious period in their life of our daughter who graduated from school. She's entering university, and today she's going to take an exam, and she's preparing thoroughly for this. Even she really needs her dad to be around to be able to talk to him. And this period of time, and she's entering this adult life. So it's important to make sure that there's such a smooth transition for her, but unfortunately there's something we cannot afford. And what is supportive, what helps us, you understand that you are not alone. All of the Ukrainian people are in this situation. too many are separated, and all of us are waiting for our victory and waiting for normal life, to be reunited again and just to lead normal lives like ordinary people live.
The only thing that I could add here is that I absolutely agree with Olena. I think that for those people who are in occupied territories, it's much more difficult, and this is something one cannot get used to, actually. So we have to try our best to make sure we can deoccupy these territories, and at least to save the lives of these people and to make sure that there is still hope for them.
These kind of situations, they can make or break a marriage. Is your marriage stronger, do you think, because of what you've gone through in the last few months?
What do you think?
Are you sure
About
that
our
I have to begin to answer?
You prefer?
Okay. Yeah, okay, I'm ready.
Я можу спочатку.
Oh, please.
Я завжди була прихильницею теорії, що
I agree with the theory that marriage gets stronger with challenges. I think in our case it would be the same.
станеться так само.
We have become more interested in each other. I think in our case it will be the same story.
І одне одному
We have got something else to say to each other.
Я дуже хочу, щоб
That is why I want this challenge to make us more united.
знало ще більше.
What do you think about it?
My answer wouldn't be different.
You should have your own opinion about it.
Of course, I have my own opinions, and when you're next to me, your opinion has priority.
But I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, what I can say is that I didn't have any other experience, actually,
Нас,
because I have only one wife, and I'm happy.
Yes, that's the right answer. It is, yes.
you see,
I am happy to have this setup. I am happy that in my life I have got one wife, one love, and one family. I never got any feeling that there was anything wrong with us or in our relationship.
є різні
And I probably, well, it is how it is.
в сім'ях в різні роки.
Probably there are different moments in families, in marriages, and different points.
Не те з нами щось, не те в наших відносинах, що
Or maybe do you feel unhappy with me sometimes?
Not with you, but without you, I'm very unhappy.
Yes, right you are.
і тому, але тому
That is why I can't notice any big changes. The war is making our relationship stronger.
What is nice?
це точно.
What is so nice, I think, is your relationship was founded on humor, comedy. You wrote comedy scripts, you were writing and performing. And I was going to ask you later in the interview if you'd had any chance to even laugh together. And then here you are, laughing together. And it's very nice to see that, because that's how you met and fell in love, was making each other laugh.
It's true. There are no moments of laughing in our these days, war days. It's true, and sometimes I can see smile, and also I have these minutes for smiling. I think it helps very much.
Is it true? I've got a question for you, Mr. President.
Please.
Is it true that you met at high school? You were high school sweethearts. Is it true you got together with two friends, male friends, and all of you proposed marriage to your wife and to two other women at the same time?
It is true. It was, yes. I don't remember exactly why we did such way.
If you remember, could you please tell a story?
Yes, they had very many performances then, and we were always on the road. Sometimes it was with them, and their girlfriends were also with them. And when we saw that we had more flexible schedule for the upcoming months, then the guys decided to put it to good use, because we planned to get married anyway. I remember you three guys saying, let's do it, and everything will be okay, and we agreed.
Слухайте, ми тут подумали.
Let's do the right thing. And we agreed somehow, you know. We agreed, yes.
I remember we were having a wedding ceremony every week.
Yes, yeah. So, you know, it was every week that we got married. It was the 31st of August. Ours is on the 6th of September, and then another couple on the 13th of September. So each Saturday, we would have another function to celebrate it.
Yes, that shows that at the time I didn't have many friends. But if I had 10 or 20 friends, we would have had weddings all over the year.
Гуляли.
It's a lovely story. And you all got married within the same 2-week period, right?
Yes.
All 3 marriages. Amazing. Mr. President.
Well, the most important thing is not to have divorces every week. We are managing.
We are managing?
Yes, we are managing is not the right word. We are in love with each other, okay?
Okay.
Mr. President, when this war started, that awful night back in February, you appeared very soon afterwards and made a video address, which you put out on social media. And I remember watching it in real time and being very moved by it. And it was really your decision to stay here in Ukraine and to encourage the people of Ukraine to fight for their country. Some leaders might have left. What made you stay?
Я по-іншому просто не міг би зробити.
Well, it couldn't have gone any other way because the president is a leader of its people. The people voted for me and the strength of our state. This is something that I have already mentioned, the strength of our state. This is consolidation. This is unity of our people, all of us together. The government, the people, the servicemen, people just want it started. They would go to the streets, they would stop tanks, other military vehicles, so the government had to stay in the center of the decision-making processes. It was very important to make sure that there is no informational chaos, because we cannot say that this intimidation works, because otherwise they would say that their informational propaganda actually won, that the government would leave this is what they wanted. This chaos, because chaos is the weakness of the state. This is the weakness of institutions. So one can occupy some territory very quickly. Frankly, yes. Unfortunately, in some places, some settlements or towns of Ukraine, this is what happened. With some police officers, some local authorities, yes, they would. They would actually run away, and it was possible for the troops to address sooner. But actually there was a lot of resistance, and it was next to impossible to occupy because of the resistance coming from people. This is why we really tried really hard to make sure that other territories remain integral. That was the only way for me to act. And I understood the consequences. And I think that these consequences, they were so much more important than what happens to me the next day.
First Lady, that night you had to wake your children and tell them this war had started. Your children are 18 and 9 years old. That must have been a very difficult thing to do. And then you had to leave your husband as he went to lead the country. And you had to leave him, perhaps fearing, I don't know, you tell me, that you may never see him again.
Дійсно було важко мені.
Yes, it was difficult. I was a little bit worried, actually, when I had to wake up the children to let them know that the war had begun and that we had to pack some stuff. But luckily, I didn't have to do that, because when I entered the room of my daughter, she was already awake and she understood everything, because, you know, social media, everything works so fast these days. I didn't see in her eyes any panic. She just asked me, what do we have to do now? And that was exactly the same question which I addressed to my husband. And what he told me was, wait, and I will tell you. I had some thoughts. Would it be possible for me to see him again? How long it's going to last? What happens next? The fear was there. But I try not to show it to the children that I was confused, that I was scared. And I was not really scared, but it was important for me to be in a cheerful mood, to keep talking to them, to smile to them. That is what I had to do, and after this very long day, believe me, my cheeks hurt because I had to smile so much and to be cheerful. And as Volodymyr just said, as for any Ukrainian, the 24th of February keeps repeating every day. You know, this is the 24th of February is a permanent condition in which we are living right now, as the circumstances are changing, but we're just waiting for one thing, when all of that is going to be all roll back and we will be back to our normal lives. That is why I wouldn't really want anyone in the whole world to endure these horrific days that we had to go through at the end of February. Yes, but we hope for better.
100%. Ми впевнені в майбутньому.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are sure about our future. We believe in peace. We believe in our victory.
Так сталося, ми живемо в такий час.
And I absolutely agree. Well, this is the way it is. We are living in these times. Social media, they work faster. They explain things faster than parents do sometimes. And we can say that it's not only about our children. We have children of war. They hear a lot about what's happening. They understand that this war made them more grown up, and there are very many important things which have to be explained by parents.
Багато речей, принципових речей, які в звичайному житті батьки повинні пояснювати.
Your son, I believe, he now wants to be a soldier.
Yes, he wants.
How do you feel about that?
Я пишаюсь цим, я пишаюсь нашими Збройними силами.
I am proud of that. I am proud of our army, and as a father, I would be proud if my son became a soldier. I can provide support for him.
Постійно, я знаю, ходить військові.
I know he is wearing military-style clothing. He's got quite a lot of weapons, not the kind of weapons we've got from our partners.
Але тим не менше, він
When
готовий
you've become-
захищати.
He's ready to protect his mother and our family.
It must be strange for your children because you've become this international hero to many people. Incredibly famous, the whole world knows of you and is inspired by you. And yet to your children, you're just your dad. And they see you on television, I presume, and it's their father. Not this global figure.
I hope I still father.
Yeah.
I'm still father for them, but
Have you seen them at all
да, ну, по-перше,
Yes, at some point, there was the movement of my family to different places. It was important in terms of security of my family.
важливі, і коли ми
And it was not possible for us to communicate or to use any means of communication for some longer periods of time.
в якийсь момент ми змогли мати такий
At some point, it was possible for us to have an online date, and I saw my children.
дітей, ми могли спілкуватися.
How was that? Nice?
Great.
I'm proud of them, and they are proud of me, and it is such a delight because this is what it gets you through. This is what I can hear.
First Lady, the world sees your husband as a hero. Is he your hero?
Maybe you want to answer without me.
Да.
Yes, I think it would be better. I think that I have already answered similar questions a couple of times already, and if each time I have to answer this question because of victory is getting closer and closer, I cannot make up any other answer. There's only one truth. I have always known that he's the most trustworthy person ever, and under this condition, this is something the world learned. And the same is true about our children. He has always been a champion for them, the best dad, the best person in our family. And right now, they're not really surprised. They take it as a test. They have this confidence and they support.
I'm one of the best ones in our family.
Yes, you're the one of the many best people in our family. But there's not many, as we don't really have a big family.
Mr. President, having spent time with the First Lady at the summit all day, are you familiar with the phrase "punching above your weight"? Are you familiar with that phrase? It means you're very lucky. You're doing very well.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. You agree?
Yes. I'm very lucky with my wife. I got really lucky to have her as a wife, with my family, with my children. I think that I'm a happy person. I am absolutely a happy person.
What is your view of Vladimir Putin, the man who is leading this war?
He is enemy number one in this war. It seems to me the scariest thing about it is that he is in fact sane, and he understands what he's doing.
It is difficult to put it into words.
Незрозуміло, як можна
It's not possible to understand how one crooked idea can throw the whole of mankind into the medieval ages.
Я не знаю.
I really don't have words.
You've said, on a more serious note, that the Russians, you're the number one target for them, and your family is the number two target. That must be a constant pressure for all of you.
Це не просто, коли ти думаєш про свою сім'ю. В даному...
It's not really about you thinking about your family. Yes, in this case, the family is at the center of attention, and yes, this is true. These targets still remain for some people from the Russian Federation. As far as I am concerned, I think it is a given. I think that it is a part of this situation we are in, and we are in a state of war. I think that any person can become a target. There is an example, there is a good example of the number of artillery missiles and some other strikes which took place. Innocent people suffer. Civilians suffer, our soldiers and me. If I can really put it this way, we are at war. We were at war. Yes, we understand that these things could happen, the result could be a bad one. Some people lose their lives. But what about suffering of civilians, their families, common people? And the only thing they did was being a Ukrainian, because this is what it is for Ukrainian soldiers and politicians. That is why I think this is something which is unsettling.
And First Lady, for you as a mother, to know that the Russians are targeting not just your husband as president, but you and potentially your children, your family, for any mother, that must be a terrifying thought.
Я намагалась ніколи не думати про ці нумерації.
I tried never to think about these numbers of targets, because when you think in terms of target number 1, target number 2, if you think too much into it, then you can become really paranoid. And yes, I understand I'm a mother like many other mothers in Ukraine. That is why all Ukrainians are targets number 2. And of course, it's all unpleasant feeling. I don't want to think that they want to do this to our family. I'm trying to push this kind of thoughts away. I can see that you can see what they did to civilians and what they're doing now in any part of our country. I don't understand what they've got in mind, and possibly we are in danger. I don't want to allow these kind of thoughts to go deep into my mind, because I could feel scared, and this is not what we need right now.
First Lady, I remember your husband going to Bucha and the emotion and fury on his face. I know you felt the same about this, and you've talked about how there's civilization and then there's what's going on here, and the Russians are behaving in a way that you just never imagined possible, a total lack of humanity. Tell me about that.
Ну, почуття будь-якої цивільної людини.
Any civilized person during this war would have terrible feelings, fear and hate towards the enemy. And we tried to explain it to common Englishmen. When they take their child to bed, try to imagine what is going to happen at night if they heard the sirens and explosions next to where they live. What would they grab from their children's bedroom? And where would they run to if they recognized there's already a large queue of cars trying to leave the city? Are they going to take their pets with them? And imagine if you stayed there and you're under occupation. Imagine the road you usually take your child to school with tanks on it. The grave of your close relative in your back garden, because you can't have a normal funeral to remember them. And imagine you have to search for water and your only source is a dirty puddle like it was in Mariupol. The medical service is not available. Just imagine you are in your home and in 2 hours' time you are forced to deal with these kinds of problems just to survive. You don't understand why this is happening.
What is your view of Vladimir Putin, the man who is leading this war?
Це важко.
It is difficult to put it into words. It's not possible to understand how one crooked idea can throw the whole of mankind into the medieval ages. I really don't have words, and I really don't want to say anything aloud, because normal words don't exist to describe this.
Mr. President, he is your enemy in this war. He's the leader of Russia. They've been doing despicable things to your people, bombing maternity hospitals, committing war crimes, no question, torturing people, murdering them. What is your view, your opinion of Vladimir Putin?
По-перше, зрозуміло, ви сказали, що
Well, it's clear, and as you have mentioned, he is enemy number one in this war. It seems to me the scariest thing about it is that he is in fact sane, and he understands what he's doing. I'd say that's the scariest conclusion I can make, that he understands what he's doing. He knows how many people he kills. He knows how many people were raped and by who, and the number of children killed or deported. Therefore, I only understand one thing. The world allowed this situation to develop. It allowed such a person to emerge with that ideology and attitude towards people. The world should understand that this result, this mistake to allow this situation is the responsibility of the whole world, to give the possibility for this to happen. It is not about democracy. I wouldn't want to mix these things because some leaders say that what did we have to do it? It is not really about democracy.
Do you believe you can win this war?
так.
Yes.
No question.
Я не тільки вірю, я знаю, що так і
And I don't only believe it, I know it will happen. We will win. We already showed the whole world that he can kill us. But to conquer our people is impossible. Millions of soldiers have died, but he cannot occupy the people.
How important?
окупувати ці села,
He can occupy these towns and villages, but all of them would be destroyed, because without ruining them, they will not be able to take those places.
How important has it been to get support from so much of the world for Ukraine?
Це задача.
This is the goal number 2. Like you said, there is the aim number 1, number 2. But there are also the goals of Ukraine. Our goals is our land. That's number 1. Both number 1 and number 2, this is our land and our people. How we can get it, we need some help. And nowadays it's very important. But number 2 is, of course, the union of our country. These trends of the country, and it leads to the help from, like an ambulance. They help from the world. 911 from the whole world. And exactly right now, we need this powerful help.
Do you believe he would ever use a nuclear weapon, Putin?
Я не знаю.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what his aims are. I don't know what the civilized world allows him to do, because if it shows its weakness, he will use everything.
This is TalkTV.
The other argument that you will hear, and I'm sure you've heard it, is that Putin has all these nuclear weapons. No one should do anything to trigger World War III. What do you say to that?
I think that if he decides to use it, then there will be no reason for that. Explicit reason is only about his decision, their ambitious plans. Just listen to me. In any other case, what if tomorrow he says, you know what, Germany? I think that there was this division in the country after the Second World War, and I think that that part of Germany belongs to us. I believe it, and I think that we should have some influence upon the territory, and our troops should be there. And in any other case, I decide to have nuclear weapons used, so should we give up, raise our hands, and do this? Because I don't believe that this is the choice that Europe and the USA would do. I think we should not really believe in that.
Do you believe he would ever use a nuclear weapon, Putin?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what his aims are. I don't know what the civilized world allows him to do, because if it shows its weakness, he will use everything.
You mentioned Germany, Mr. President. One of the more sickening things that Putin has said is that he's liberating Ukrainian people from Nazis. By implication, you're a Jewish man. You had relatives who were murdered by the Nazis. That must have been for you a particularly egregious insult.
It's not that it is unpleasant to hear it, you know. I don't pay attention to that. These are empty words. If something is very populist for their people, I pay no attention to this. If you want to draw attention to these questions, then the first you need to think about their first actions and the results of what they're doing. They are Nazis. And take a look at biography and the people who are close to Putin. His family. What happened to them? During the times when the Nazis were out there, during the Second World War, what was happening? Who did he get to lose? And for him to take a look at my family. What is their blood? Where are they now? And why I don't truly have a big family? I mean, people who are still here, by the way, tortured by Nazis. What happened to his family? Were they under occupation or they were not? So what was happening there? So I would probably pay attention to that. It's not really about him. I think that political leaders of the Russian Federation, I would pay more attention to their families, is of the utmost importance.
President Biden said that Putin should be removed from office. Do you agree?
I think that any war ends when you talk about diplomatic solutions. And the impression that I have is that the result of this diplomacy is the conversation between the Ukrainian part, with the presence of our partners, and the Russian Federation. And I think that this is the only model to talk with someone else, not the contemporary leader of the Russian Federation.
Is there more America could be doing right now? They're so powerful, obviously, as a country.
As the president of a country that is in a war, I can tell you that the help would not be sufficient until the war is over and until we win. So you understand me. A few times I've spoken with President Biden, and I told him about our people and about our country. I said, forgive me if I'm quite firm in my position. Maybe some things are not very diplomatic. But he gave me quite a dignified response, that he understands and he would do the same in my place.
He would do the same thing. There are people in America, some on the Republican side in particular, who think that America shouldn't be spending all this money on a war here, which has nothing to do with them. They think there are more important things in America, like inflation and so on, that they should be working on. What is your message to those Americans who do not think America should be as heavily involved?
We are fighting for absolutely communal values that are universally understood. Some time ago, I responded that war doesn't have a distance. And the war in Ukraine is still the war against those values that are professed in the United States and in Europe. The distance doesn't exist today. Today, Russian rockets can fly over a few thousand kilometers. And tomorrow, they will have rockets that can cover tens of thousands of kilometers. What difference does it make? They kill civilians who do not agree with the politics of the president of Russia. So this war, here and now in Ukraine, and forgive me that I'm saying it so cynically, is for the safety of Europe. As long as we are resisting, the integrity of the United States will continue. Therefore, we are giving our lives for your values and the joint security of the world. Therefore, inflation is nothing. COVID is nothing. Ask those people who lost their children, their peace, their property at the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion. Who is thinking about masks and COVID? Who is thinking about inflation? These things are secondary. The most important thing is to survive and preserve your life, family, and your country. Therefore, at the moment we are doing this job, but the West has to help us.
First Lady, is it true that he didn't tell you that he was going to run for president?
Well, he forgot.
You forgot? You forgot to tell your wife you're running for president?
Yes, but I see.
Wait a minute, you found out on TV? Really? Mr. President, really? You announced it on television before you told your wife?
It's not I was not laughing so much, so loud last 5 months.
I want to take you back to a few years ago when you were a comedy performer in a hugely popular TV show in which you played an anti-establishment figure who runs for president and becomes president. And then you actually run for president in real life and you become president. It's a bit crazy when you say it like that. The question is that for many people it was surreal that you were playing a role in a comedy show as someone who becomes president and then you become the real president.
Well, it is a reality. This is the reality which we're all living now. To be honest, I am proud of the fact that this is how it happened. I'm proud of being the president of Ukraine, that people voted for me. It is a reality, and about this surreal thing, I think it's more about what is actually happening with our neighbors. For very many years, they lived alongside, and then they decided to attack us and to kill us. I think it is way more surreal than this.
First Lady, is it true that he didn't tell you that he was going to run for president?
Say it true. Say it true.
Well, he forgot.
You forgot? You forgot to tell your wife you're running for president?
He understood that probably I wouldn't have been fond of this idea and that it would take a couple of hours of very difficult negotiations with me. That is why probably each day he was thinking that this is the day, that this is the moment, I should tell her, you know, but he kept postponing it. Then it was on TV. I saw his New Year's address. It was New Year's night and found out he was actually running.
Wait a minute, you found out on TV? Really? Mr. President, really? You announced it on television before you told your wife?
I was not laughing so much, so loud last 5 months.
Yes, he was sitting next to me. There was a long pause, you know, some 10 minutes, but that wasn't it. Okay, say everything. Okay, this question was up in the air. There were some discussions, but he didn't really want to keep asking him. You are going to tell them? Is it happening? Is it not? Somehow I believe that at that point he will tell me, but I didn't really think that that would be the moment.
You have to explain yourself.
Yes, I will.
I mean, I've heard of not telling your wife things, but not telling you you're going to be president is like crazy. What were you thinking?
No.
This, you see, was a difficult decision for our family. I knew that it would hit them, that it would be a tough call. It's not a joke. These are serious matters. It's true that we didn't talk about it for a long period of time, but we had been talking about it, and Olena had been talking about it separately, that's true. We had been putting off talking about it and avoiding it for a long time, because my family was not prepared to let me go. And you are right, my first public statement, that was before the day of New Year. And I mentioned that I am intending to run for the office, and it is true. That was the moment when Olena heard about that. And she told me that she didn't want that, but the decision...
This is your opportunity to apologize to your wife.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, he didn't propose on his knee, you know.
Really? He didn't? No knee? He didn't propose on your knee?
Well, that's, you know.
Come on, down here. Well, why not? Later. Do it later, when you apologize again. You were written off at the start of this war by the New York Times, called you an inept leader, unsuitable for war. Another headline, this comedian turned president is in seriously over his head. They couldn't have been more wrong. You've turned out to be the right man at the right time for your country. You've been an incredibly inspiring leader in this war. What do you say to those who doubted you?
What can I say? I'm happy that right now they can see how wrong they were and that they admit it.
First Lady, do you feel that Ukraine is fortunate to have your husband leading the country at this time?
Well, I think on behalf of the rest of the country, I cannot really say, but this is how I feel it. And yes, this is what I can say on behalf of everyone, that we believe in him. And this is the way people feel. I'm not only his wife, I also a citizen of this country, and I like this president.
At the summit, which was magnificent, your First Lady and First Gentleman summit, which I was proud to help moderate for you, there was a moment when I revealed that my football team, Arsenal, have signed a Ukrainian player, Alexander Zinchenko, and I'm very excited about this. It's just happened. And I asked the audience, are there any Arsenal fans in the room? And you put your hand up. You're an Arsenal fan.
Yes, I think that Zinchenko is the person who is loved by everyone in Ukraine. He is one of the most recent heroes of the nation and Ukrainians. They always fervently support football players, and Zinchenko is such a nice guy, and even girls like him so much. This is why I'm hopeful when Zinchenko starts playing, our people will become fans of this football team.
Mr. President, are you an Arsenal supporter?
Yeah.
Maybe there's some other footballers that you like?
Let me explain.
I know some of them personally.
Let me explain why you should be. Because Arsenal is named after a weapons factory, which used to make weapons for the British Army and the Royal Navy. And our motto, the motto of the club, is in Latin, Victoria Concordia Crescit, which stands for victory through harmony. It's appropriate.
Honestly, we are all fans of Zinchenko, as Olena has mentioned. Personally, I know very many great Ukrainian football players, so to be honest, they are doing a great thing. They are working really hard, they're well-known people, and they're helping us a lot. Shevchenko is a great person. I cannot say that I love Zinchenko over Shevchenko, because then Shevchenko will stop talking to me. And then I can do the opposite thing. There are so many of them. Believe me, there are some legendary figures. They took arms and they are on the front line. And we know some football players from other teams, from Dinamo. So, I mean that I'm a fan of football like any man in Ukraine.
We've now established, thanks to the First Lady, you're all Arsenal supporters. And I actually have a gift for you, which I will give you after the interview, of Arsenal shirts for the President, for the First Lady, and for both of your children. Because we need your support, as we'll give you our support. Thank you both very much indeed for all the time that you've given me today. I think I speak on everyone's behalf in the United Kingdom when I salute you for the courage that you've shown, the inspiration you've shown the people here. We're all behind you. We need you to win this war. We understand the world needs you to win this war. Keep fighting. And I think the words I need to use are Slava Ukraini.
Glory to the heroes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Join me, Ian Collins, every day on TalkTV.
There is nothing we hate more than hypocrisy.
Discussing the big issues.
Why was it so hard to establish the deputy leader was at a meeting with her colleagues?
The callers.
Alan in Grimsby, Tracy in Burton-on-Trent. Dave, thank you very much.
Picking apart the big stuff.
This simply does not wash. Look who's back under the spotlight.
This is TalkTV News.
Good evening, I'm Emily Rose Adams. Author Sir Salman Rushdie has been airlifted to hospital and is undergoing surgery after being stabbed in the neck. The writer had been due to give a lecture in Western New York. A man has been taken into custody. The Environment Agency is warning England could see a drought last into next year after the driest summer for 50 years. The organisation says it would take weeks' worth of rain to replenish water sources. Large parts of England are now officially in drought status after months of extremely dry weather. And US media is reporting the FBI removed 11 sets of classified documents from Donald Trump's home in Florida this week. It's claimed some of them were marked as top secret. The former president has denied any wrongdoing. That's all for now. We'll have more after the talk.